I think we start out all of these just drinking.
Yeah.
Okay. So, finished book 1 of 1001 books to read before you die.
Oh, yes.
We're a year later.
I really can't believe it's taken us that long. So we finally made it to book 10.
Did it. Completed it.
But I do have to come clean and tell you that I didn't read the terminal essay.
No, that's understandable. Some of it was kind of neat, and some of it was tooting his own horn about how smart he is and stuff. But there was one part in the terminal essay that he mentions the Mormon colony when he visited.
Really?
Like full circle with the footnotes
Yes.
from Under the Banner of Heaven to this book.
It was really neat to have books tie in together the way they did.
And it was just a fluke thing too. Like I didn't know that going in fit so tight. Like that was
Unexpected.
an interesting part of the journey.
Yeah. So I guess this wasn't so much about the destination as it was about the journey, right? I mean,
We got there,
yeah.
but as per usual, I can't remember the last tale. I remember liking it,
Mm-hmm.
which was unusual compared to some of the other stories out of the whole shebang. What was that one?
Well, the last one is titled Maruf the Cobbler and Fatima and his wife Fatima, which the townspeople refer to
Right.
as the Dome
Yeah.
because of her abhorrent actions.
As soon as you said the title, it's coming back. It's the one that was like Aladdin. He wanted to marry the princess, and he acted like he was rich. And you could tell like throughout the whole where they pulled different pieces for the Disney cartoon. I feel.
And so she was actually abusing him physically, verbally, just emotionally, just however you want to say it. So in trying to get away from her, he went to this faraway land, right?
Yeah.
And he met up with a merchant who was the vizier's son?
Something like that.
Oh, who he grew up with, actually.
And backed him up on all his stories.
Yes. So that other merchant was the one who told him to claim that he was a man of wealth, when he actually wasn't, and he was waiting on the baggage that was never going to come.
And then they found the genies.
Yes.
Aladdin.
It's the seal ring. He was actually able to repay all of his debts and then some.
When the princess found out that he was lying, and she actually like loved him so much that she stayed with him.
And she covered for him.
And ended up convincing the king that he was actually rich. There was so much going on with this, but it felt different than the other stories where it was easier to follow. Maybe it was one of the more recent, and that's why it had a different feel than some of the other ones.
I think it was also not overladen with so many characters, and it was just a lot easier to follow, as you said, and I really liked it. So it was a strong finish.
I was going to say, he ended on a high note.
Yeah. But
don't tell him that, because it'll just go to his head.
But the overall book, I mean, of course it ended the way we expected.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right. Yeah, she's such a genius. I totally forgot about this. It blew me away. It took so long to tell the story so she could have kids.
Like 3 of them.
And that way she could be like, you can't kill me, otherwise your children will be motherless. And he wouldn't kill her then. I didn't see that come. That was fantastic. That was worth the 10 volumes.
Yeah. How would you rate the overall book?
That's a good one.
We had a hard time just getting started, I think, because we had to get used to the way he translated and wrote.
Some of the stories are completely unforgettable.
There were some really funny stories that I just laughed out loud so many times. But the last part, I don't think was so funny, but it really made up for it in just the strength of the story.
So I feel like we were insane to take this on, but...
Can I mention that it was your idea? No.
It was. It was an interesting way to start. I feel like there's so much today that influenced like so many things that we probably don't even think about. So do I recommend everybody do it? No. But if you really want to take on this 1001 book as a whole, I think the way we did it was the best way to go. We didn't just try to like skirt around the edges and reading a small version. Like we did
It
it.
actually would have felt like we were cheating.
Right.
Right?
That's exactly it. So, and we did it. No one can take that away from us.
I was just thinking back on it. I can't believe we did it. I feel sort of disappointed because I feel like confetti should be falling. But there's no confetti. Or some applause or something. Maybe.
But yeah, so next on, we went from probably the longest book in the thing to probably the shortest book, which is The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. It has some other titles, but that's the one that was in the book. Longest one I found is 30 pages.
Okay.
So the complete 180 of, but I think it'll be nice to read something shorter. I think this one's an oral tale that eventually got written down, just like the Arabian Nights. So we'll see. Put some links, I guess, in the videos, so that way if someone wants to
Maybe
read.
you can convince Kobe to read that one too.
She's like, you're not pulling me into your crazy games. I'm reading those Disney Twisted Tales, so she's pretty content with those. They're like, what if Sleeping Beauty never woke up? Or what if Belle from Beauty and the Beast, what if it was her mom that cursed the beast or something? There's these...
So is that still considered fan fiction?
I didn't put that together, but now that you say it, yes, that is,
Okay.
that is fan fiction. Disney's that's smart. Publish their own fan fiction.
Okay.
Huh. Are you ready?
I am.
Took on Meddling Kids, which is, I wanted something that Joy could turn off her brain a little bit from all those deep and dark, depressing books you've been reading.
And it worked. I mean, I never would have picked it up otherwise if you had not picked this. So I'm glad I read it. I'm not so captivated by it that I would want to read another book by him.
Right.
But it was entertaining.
Right. It was what it was. This was a whole series. I don't know if I'd be Zelda for the next one. So
I'll probably give it a 2.5 or 3 stars.
Yeah.
You?
yeah, I'd
Okay.
give it 3. Basically, well, Scooby-Doo fan fiction.
Yeah.
Everything's a parallel to mostly Scooby-Doo, but also other like detective stories like Hardy Boys and stuff. And what's that guy with the Lovecraft? A lot of Lovecraft thrown in there instead of just being like masked, real people with masks at the end. It's actual, like there's some supernatural stuff going on.
Weezers.
I like that. I did like them. Picture this like big like.
Do you think it would make a good movie?
I think he wrote it like a movie or a TV show. Some of his dialogue was done with the name and then a colon, like a script, and then even some of his, what's the word? Instead of like saying like they ran over, he would say so and so pans or something cuts, and it was all these like film terms. So I think he was like playing on the fact that it's a TV, like Scooby-Doo was a TV show. He was very self-aware, and it's very metafictional in that regard.
Was it predictable to you?
No, I was kind of surprised about who ended up being. You found it predictable? I mean, I guess it had to have been though, because there was only really one person.
Yeah.
They had all the stuff about like them entering other people, so you could never guess.
Yeah.
I was surprised that Peter didn't play bigger at the end,
Yeah.
without giving too much away. Him and the Nate character, they had so much going on, like, and there was all this buildup, and it just kind of just. But, and I like the fact that some of the stuff that sounded so absurd and supernatural was like real things, like the thing where the lake explodes and the air comes out. That's a real occurrence. The town that he mentions in here, they constantly are, and they don't know when it's coming, and there's like, and then all of a sudden just all the oxygen just gets sucked out.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, what's it?
Did you actually Google it?
I did. I wanted to know if this was a real thing. Lithic eruption?
Mhm.
Lithic?
Oh, I think I know what word you're talking about, but I can't recall it.
Yeah, start with L.
It's always neat when facts are incorporated into stories.
Right. Also, the style of Burton. He made up a lot of his own words too. But I like that though. It's a bold move, and it's a style. Like he's taking all this very real stuff, real in the sense that it's fictional, but it's real to, like Scooby-Doo's real to a lot of people because they grew up with it, with all these like fake words. Like I don't know. I didn't hate it.
No, I didn't either. I thought it was well done for what it is.
Right. So next time it'll be.
Oh, Duck's Newburyport. This is another crazy idea that we have decided to take on. The book consists of one sentence and is over 1,000 pages long.
So that sounds exactly like something we would do. Nothing can stop us now.
Yes.
If we can get through Arabian Night,
It's going to be interesting.
it's going to be fantastic.
Yes. So I think I will start off with Circe. So I wasn't that interested in Greek mythology in high school, and so I first encountered her from the book The Odyssey, when Odysseus and his sailors land on her island, and she turns some of his crew into pigs. So in this book, Madeline Miller, she expands on her life among the other gods and her encounters with mortals, and then how she comes to develop and embrace her powers. So it's very, very good. I was very surprised at how readable.
So you liked it?
Yes, I did.
Good stuff. Good.
Between 4 and 5 stars.
Okay, so you really liked it.
Yes.
I wouldn't have known anything about her except for the fact that I read those Percy Jackson books. So I know who she is now. Feel smart.
The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. You have to read this. I didn't know that speculative fiction is a genre, but this falls under that genre.
I wouldn't have guessed that from the cover. Is it more like lighthearted though, I guess?
No, not really.
Is it super dark?
No, well, it has some dark elements to it, but then in the end, I feel that everything comes together, and it's a feel-good book if you reach the end. There's an uplifting message at the end.
Okay.
Is what I should say. So the book centers around Nora Seed. Opens with her contemplating suicide.
Okay.
You know, she's lost, she's lonely, she's haunted by many regrets. So she decides to try to commit suicide by overdosing on antidepressants.
Okay.
So when she wakes up again, she finds herself in the Midnight Library. So what it basically is it's sort of like a purgatorial state.
Interesting.
Where the shelves are all lined with volumes of different versions of her life. So it's almost like a multiverse. And the person guiding her through all of this is her school librarian, Mrs. Elm. She actually gets to experience her life in different ways.
I never guessed that from the cover.
Yes, I know. I actually like the cover.
I know, I really do too.
The other thing about this book that I really, really like is there are a lot of philosophical elements to it, and it also includes a lot of physics. He doesn't go in depth into it, but you know, just the whole thing about the multiverse and all that stuff.
So it's smart without making you feel dumb.
Yes,
that's good.
Yes,
that's a talent, right?
It was so cleverly done. This one is a solid 5. But I do have to admit, one night when I should have been sleeping, this book sent me down the internet cable. And I don't know why it always happens in the wee hours. I don't know.
Of course, that's the best time. It's
Right?
the only time, really.
I found myself Googling how parasitic worms, called hairworms, infect grasshoppers and cause them to commit suicide. Have you heard of that? So it takes over by producing and injecting proteins into the brain of its host. And it can do this to crickets too. I thought, wow, that is
Really?
great. Yes!
How does the grasshopper, does it like just bite its own head off or something?
Oh, no. Sorry. So it causes it to commit suicide by jumping into the water, where then the larvae from the worm can come out.
So they have, oh, wow, that's
Isn't that crazy?
dark, kind of fantastic that, you just can't make up,
Right. There are also videos, oh gosh, the hair worms. Ugh.
Oh, they show it?
You can see it. It just looks, you might have to post them a picture. I don't know.
Still pretty amazing. You still found the most lighthearted, darkest books you could find.
Yes!
You gravitate towards it. They find you.
It was such a relief this time around, just because, I was getting really bogged down. That's why I couldn't read any more of Cast,
Right.
because it just, some parts really infuriated me, and I just couldn't. So I think I will be ready to go back to all of that maybe after this. Speaking of philosophy, I do have to ask you this. Have you ever looked up or seen a picture of Wittgenstein? You have to Google a picture of him. He has the most piercing, haunting eyes, Ryan.
Wittgenstein?
Yes, Wittgenstein. You have to. His eyes. There's something about his eyes. Still see it now.
The book of poetry, Still Life with Mother and Knife. And I really enjoyed that one.
With Mother and Knife?
Just readable. Like, it wasn't like overly heavy, but it was still like really deep at the same time. So I thought the author, which I can't remember, I didn't write down names. That's my mistake. But I thought she did a fantastic job. The book was there, which was just a history of books and where books are potentially going, and like books that are unusual, and comparing like internet pages to book pages. It was just, if you like book history, it's interesting enough. And I took on something kind of strange.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because I can't figure out why there's 52 Stone Barrington novels by Stuart Wood.
You didn't!
Look on the first one, and it was better than I thought.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't like fantastic, but some of the stuff that happens in these books, some of the people that check them out, I look at different now. I'm like, really? Let's see what happens with Mr. Barrington.
Okay.
His other 51 escapades. There were two other poetry books, one called Happy Hour Hallelujah and Abstract Visions of Light.
Ooh, I like these titles.
That one, actually, Warcross, it had like Ready Player One vibes. Because like they wear like virtual glasses and there's a game, and like she hacks into the game, and that's why the inventor of the game brings her in to try to find this other hacker, like stops halfway. Like it just, the ending of the book is just the middle of the story, and it just, there was like no smaller arcs within, like Star Wars has the smaller arcs to get to the ending, even though it's a larger tale. This one was just like a big half circle. I had trouble getting into it. Cyberspace, which was a weird art book. Poetry was just weird, like because the pictures were so bold and simple. So it was just like not like shaded colors. Like let's say it was a piece of corn. It was like harsh black lines to show the kernels, one shade of yellow on a red background. Like that's it. And the poetry part was almost this like nonsense stream of consciousness. It was just such a juxtaposition.
You're really into the poetry, aren't you?
I just grabbed some stuff. I don't even know. The novel was called Walk Through Hell. And these detectives go in this warehouse, and like all this crazy stuff starts happening. And it was like pretty brutal and violent, but it left you hanging, but not necessarily like wanting more.
Okay.
It was okay. Like, I don't know. All this stuff I read this month was just kind of okay. Everything was just okay. The harder you work, the luckier you get, which is a memoir from the guy who created Ameritrade, the online stock exchange.
Yes.
Yeah, I still don't know anything more about stocks. And the guy was basically just like a workaholic and built this company, and it was surprisingly easy to read though.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I have
Did you gain any other knowledge from it?
Yeah, some little tidbits of wisdom here and there, but
Okay.
mostly it was summed up by the title. Second Umbrella Academy, which was really good. I liked the style of the artwork, and it had these hitmen in it that were like the most violent, brutal heads were like these like helmets, like happy cartoon characters, but they were like covered in blood. Like they were like suit and ties, but they just chopping off people's limbs.
Oh my gosh.
Really like that. It's over. Cast, which is probably the best books I've read in a long time. It's infuriating, but it needs to be read by like everyone basically.
So it's very eye-opening.
Right.
Okay.
I've never felt more like sad or embarrassed, or it was just a fantastic book. It's not something you just sit down and just breeze through. You gotta do a little bit and digest it.
It's very dense.
But it needs to be read. This overland's gonna bother me. Yeah, I wrote down all this stuff about what I'd say about Cass, and we could have a whole, like, I don't know what this was.
Nothing needed to ask you, so do you think we should still be introducing ourselves?
Yeah, I've been sneaking in at the end of the videos.
Okay.
So it'll probably be about now.
Okay.
It's a book of photographs. It was just like fields
Hmm.
of land. Can't believe I forgot about that. Yeah, very, very muted kind of colors.
Okay.
And just, she traveled across the country, took photos over land.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's what that was. Sometimes you just want a picture book for adults.
Yes, those work best sometimes.
Yes, on to the sentence.
And I think I'm almost excited about starting, other books. He's gone. I mean, it's gone. So